All right, so in this case, we are looking at I just made a real quick little house here that has carpet on the floor. It's got some walls, it's got some brick walls on the outside, that sort of thing. So we want to take this house. So we're going to have brick on the outside, gypsum on the inside. And I've got a floor here. Let's click on the floor so you can see what kind of selected. In this case, I have a wood truss with joists that are 12 inches thick and carpet on top. Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to add a 4-foot structural wall underneath, and then we're going to put that structural wall on top of a footing. So before we start, let's rename some levels because it's a little confusing and we have to add a couple. All right, first one is level 2. Let's double click that and change it to roof. And it's going to ask if you want to rename that everywhere. Choose yes. And then level 1, we're going to call it the floor. And I'm just going to add top to that. Okay, now I want to add another level at the bottom of the floor. And this is a little strange, so we're going to add a level that connects to there. So I'm going to zoom in right here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to architecture and find the level button right here. You could also type LL. And I'm going to line it up over here. It kind of goes wherever you start, it's going to be the end, and where you stop, it's going to be the little symbol. So we click that. Notice how I made that where they're locked with the other two. And we're going to call this floor bottom. So I'm going to hit escape a couple of times. Double click on level 3. We're going to call it floor bottom. So we know what it is. Check my spelling. I do want to rename that everywhere. Now, we have to look at this. We want to move it to the bottom of the floor right here. So it's just inside right there. You see how it's just a little bit above? So we're going to move it to that edge there. That looks great. And if we go look at it, now we have this overlap. One of the things when you have this highlighted, you see this little squiggly mark right here. Let me zoom in on it. There's that didn't really zoom. That's what that says is if you float right over that, it says add elbow. So I'm going to click on that. Try again. There we go. What that does is it lets us kind of move some of this around so that we can have less clutter. All right, so there's the floor top and the floor bottom. And that's minus 1 foot and 1 inch. So we've got 13 inches added. So then we're going to add 4 feet to that, and that's going to be where our next level is. So let's add one more. And we're going to choose level. And then we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to line up with that one just below it. And I'm going to put in the actual value here in just a moment. Click that. Okay. And right now that's 6 feet below. So we're going to take 4 inches plus 4 foot 11. So instead of being minus 7, it's going to be, actually it's going to be 1 foot 1 inch plus 4. So we're going to change this to minus 5 space and then 1 inch. If you do a minus 5 and a space and a 1, it guesses that you mean 5 foot 1 inch. And again, we have this little overlap here, so I'm going to click this little elbow. Let me pan it. Click this little elbow button, and we'll move this down so it's easier to see. And this is going to be foundation. So we're going to double click on level 4. We're going to call it foundation. And we have our levels defined. Okay. Wonder what it looks like if I choose floor bottom. That's actually pretty good. One of the things we're going to kind of ignore some errors on is whenever we add the walls, it's going to be outside of this view, and I don't want to mess with the view settings. A lot of people do. If we can just make sure it works right, then we don't necessarily have to see it. One of the things that can happen to you when you're messing with view settings is it's real easy to make a mistake and then it's really hard to fix. You pretty much have to open up you design new models and try to figure out how to put it back where it was. And sometimes it doesn't work, so we're not going to mess with that just yet. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put walls where we know they're supposed to be. So we're looking at the floor plan, floor bottom. So this is the bottom edge of that floor, the bottom of the joist, okay? So now we're going to go to structure, and we're going to choose wall. And right here we have a basic wall. So we're going to edit type, and we're going to duplicate. Remember, always duplicate the ones that come with Revit. We're going to call this one foundation wall. And this is a residential wall. It's going to be 8 inches. Okay. Foundation wall, 8 inches. Okay. For structure, we're going to click edit. And then we are going to choose by category. Click on the 3-dot menu there. Type in the word concrete. And we're going to choose cast in place. Concrete cast in place. Click OK. Make sure it's still 8 inches thick and click OK. And then click OK one more time. Now, we're going to go looking at this wall. We're in modify and placing this wall. Let's go choose the one we just made, foundation wall. And then we're going to set the base constraint. It's going to be foundation, and it's going to go up to floor bottom. Make sure those are correct. Now, notice this, it says wall center line. We want to make sure that that says finish face exterior. This is why it's really important when you're placing your walls for the outside. Make sure the brick is on the outside before you do this. So we're going to choose the finish face, and now we're going to use the line tool and just trace around the outside of our building, and it's going to complain because it's saying that we're drawing outside of the visible area. We're just going to keep going on like that's not happening, because sometimes when there's mistakes, you just have to keep going. Now, the way to fix this is adjust the view range, but like I said, we're more likely to break it than we are to make it work. So make sure you know where you start from and where you finish at. When you're done, you're going to go to your 3D view. And if you notice, we have a foundation wall all around the bottom. Okay, so we're done with that. The next thing we want to do is we want to put a structural foundation on a wall. Okay, so it's this one. And the one it pops up with is enormous. This is like for a very large building. It's 36 inches wide and 12 inches thick. That is overkill for what we need. I'm going to see if I can get rid of this warning real quick. Okay. So what we want to do before we begin here is we're going to shift and center click and roll this over so we can see the bottom of our structure. I like that. Okay. So now we're going to choose, we're on foundation wall, we're going to choose edit type. We're going to duplicate it, and we're going to put foundation footing. And this is going to be 16 inches. So if you look at what we have in our curriculum, it says this footing is going to be 8 inches thick and 16 inches wide. So that's what we're trying to replicate here. It is cast in place concrete. And this says 3 feet. Where it says 3 feet, we want to put 1 foot and 4 inches, and that's going to give us our 16. And for the foundation thickness, we're going to go 0 space 8, and that'll give us 8 inches. And then we can click OK. All right. For this, we're going to place the wall. So all you do is you click on each foundation wall, and it'll add the footing. So we're just going to go around and click every little wall. I'm trying to catch this one, then this one, and you just go all the way around. All the way around. And there we go. So that is our foundation. So if we go hit home, you should see this. So let's zoom in on it. What we should notice is that the footing is equal on either side and that there's not a gap between these two. Well, there's a tiny gap there. I missed something, but that doesn't matter. Should be really, really close. I know some teachers would make a big deal out of that. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. You know how to place levels, and we've got it pretty darn close. And everything's lining up. So if you notice, the exterior and the foundation, the floor and the foundation all line up together. So that means we're happy. All right, that's just a quick walkthrough of how to add a strip foundation with the footing.